Elements are the building blocks of matter. In the same way, Selenium can test any web application by locating the element on the web page. Hi all, this is Vaishnavi from Edureka, and in this session, we'll see what are web elements and how to perform actions on them. But before I begin, let's take a look at the agenda of this module. We'll first begin by learning about what exactly is a web element and also take a look at the different types of web elements that exist. Once you understand this, we'll see what are the various operations that are performed on these web elements and also take a look at how these web elements can be located on the web page using the element locators. And finally, we'll wrap up this session by working on a demo that demonstrates how to target a web element in Selenium. So first, let's understand what are web elements. Anything present on the web page is a web element, such as a text box, a button, link, etc. But before performing any action in Selenium, we should identify the web element using its characteristics given by the application developer with the help of an HTML code. Now, what are the basic components of a web element? A web element comprises of an HTML tag, attribute, and the text field. Now let's understand these components in detail. What is an HTML tag? It is an individual component of an HTML document or a web page. Now, what are the attributes? HTML attributes are special words used inside the opening tag to control the element's behavior. Now, what is a text field? A text field is placed on the web page using the input tag with the type attribute set with the value of text. So basically, the web element represents an HTML element. Generally, all operations interacting with the page will be performed through this interface. Selenium WebDriver encapsulates a simple form of element as an object of the web element. So this gives you a proper introduction to what are the web elements in Selenium. Now let's move on and understand the different types of web elements. As I mentioned earlier, everything that is present on a web page is considered as a web element. So we have these types of web elements, starting with the edit box, which is a basic text control that enables a user to type a small amount of text. And then we have the link, which allows the user to click their way from page to page. Moving further, we have the button, which represents a clickable button which can be used in forms or anywhere in a document that needs simple standard button functionality. And then we have the image link, and the image button, which performs actions similar to the other fields but with the images. We have the text area where we can enter the text. And then we have the checkbox, which is a selection box, or the tick box, which is a small interactive box that can be toggled by the user to indicate the affirmative or the negative choice. Moving further, we also have a radio button or the option button, which is a graphical control element that allows the user to choose only one of the predefined set of mutually exclusive options. And then we have the drop-down box, which is a graphical control element similar to the list box that allows the user to choose one value from the list. When a drop-down is inactive, it displays a single value. But when it is activated, it displays a list of values from which the user may select one. And then we have the list box, which contains a list of options and only one can be selected out of it. And then we have the combo box, which contains a mixture of the drop-down box as well as the list box. So this is everything you need to know about the types of web elements in Selenium. Now let's move on and understand what are the operations that are performed on these web elements. I can say that there are a lot of operations that can be performed on the web elements, starting with performing operations on the browser, such as launching the browser, navigating to a particular web page, closing the focused browser, and also close the driver functionality for the browser. And you can also perform actions like navigating from one web page to another, navigating back to the previous web page, navigating forward to another web page, refreshing the browser, and maximizing the browser screen. So this is about the operations that can be performed on the browser. Now let's take a look at the operations that can be performed on the web page. You can perform actions like getting the title of the current web page and also get the URL of the current web page. And you can also perform actions on the edit box like entering a particular value, clearing that value, and check the enabled status, and also check the edit box existence. We can also perform actions on the link by clicking on the link, check the link existence, check the link enabled status, and return the link name, and many more. And we can also perform actions on the buttons like clicking the button, checking the enable status for the button, and the display status of the button. And when it comes to performing actions on the images, we have basically three types of image elements in the web environment. That is the general image, which has no functionalities, image button, which helps in submitting the image, and the image link, which redirects to another web page or location. So this is about performing actions on the image, guys. Now let's take a look at the operations that can be performed on a text area. That is return or capture of the text area, displaying the error message, and so on. Now let's take a look at the operations that can be performed on the checkbox. It helps in checking if the checkbox is displayed or not, and also has it been enabled or not. Helps in selecting the checkbox and unselecting the checkbox. Now let's take a look at the operations that can be performed on the radio button. Selects the radio button, verifies if the radio button is displayed or enabled or not, and also checks if it is selected or not. Moving further, we'll take a look at the operations performed on the drop-down box. It checks if the drop-down box is present or not, or has it been enabled, selects an item out of the drop-down box, and gets the item count. Now coming to the operations performed on the list box, it selects the particular list and helps in deselecting it as well. And performing actions on the combo box contains the operations performed on the drop-down box and the list box. Moving further, we have the operations to be performed on the web table or the HTML table, which basically helps in getting the cell value, the row count or the cell count, etc. And finally, we can perform actions on the frames, switching from the top window to a particular frame in the web page, and switching from a frame to the top window, and many more. So these are the operations that can be performed on the web element, guys. Now, the question is how to locate these elements on the web page. Selenium uses element locators, which helps in locating these web elements on the web page. So let's see how this can be done. Selenium makes use of the locator that can be termed as an address that identifies a web element uniquely within the web page. Locators are the HTML properties of a web element which tells Selenium about the web element it needs to perform the actions on. There is a diverse range of web elements like the text box, ID, radio button, etc. And identifying these elements is a tricky approach. So Selenium uses these locators to interact with the web elements on the web page. So let's see what are the different types of locators in Selenium. First off, we have the ID. The ID strategy looks for an element in the page having an ID attribute corresponding to a specified pattern. And then we have the name. Locating elements by name are very similar to locating it by ID, except that we use the prefix in name. And then we have the class, which searches for the class name of a particular web element. And then we have the link text. This type of locator applies to the hyperlink text. We access the link by prefixing our target with link is equal to, and then followed by the hyperlink text, and then locating it by CSS selector. CSS selector is a combination of an element selector and a selector value which identifies the web element within a web page. And then we have partial link text. In some cases, we may need to find links by a portion of a text in the link text element. In such situations, we use the partial link text to locate the elements. And then we have the XPath, which is designed to allow the navigation of XML documents with the purpose of selecting individual elements, attributes, or some other part of an XML document for specific processing. So this is about the different types of element locators in Selenium. So let me give you a quick demonstration of how element locators work in Selenium, guys. So let's work on the operations. So first we need the Java libraries in order to run the test scripts, and also we require an IDE where we can perform the actions. So I have the latest Eclipse IDE installed in my system. So I'm just going to click on it. Launch the workspace. Okay, so this is the Eclipse workspace, guys. So I'll first create a new Java project and name it WebElements and finish. You can see that the project is being created, and now we need to add the Selenium jar files. So I'm going to go to build path, configure build path, and add external jars. Apply and close. You can see that another folder is being created by the name referenced libraries, which holds all the Selenium jar files. Now I'm going to create a package in order to write the code. 𝐶.Edureka. Click on finish. And now I'm going to create a class and give this the name Selenium WebElement and add the main function and click on finish. So you can see that the program comes under the package 𝐶.Edureka, and I've created a class of the name Selenium WebElement under which our main class resides. So let's start writing the piece of code from here. So first, in order to work on Selenium, you need to set the browser driver. So in my case, I'm going to consider working on the Chrome driver. So I'm going to set the system property system.setProperty. I'm going to set the system property to Chrome.driver and specify the path in which it is located. In my case, it is located in the C drive. So I'm going to copy this path and go back to my project and paste it. And always note that the extension should be given as the Chrome driver .exe, which specifies that it is an executable file. And after this, I'm going to instantiate the browser driver to the new Chrome driver. So I'm going to create an object of the WebDriver and instantiate it with the new Chrome driver. Okay, you can see that it throws an error. Just import the WebDriver packages and also the Chrome driver packages. So after you finish instantiating the browser driver, we are going to get the URL of the web page that we want to search for. So I'm going to consider the object of the WebDriver, that is driver.getURL, and paste the URL over here. Okay, so once you get the URL of the web page, we need to find the elements on the web page that are basically the web elements. So let's go to our web page. Okay, so this is amazon.in. So let's say if you want to search for this particular search box here. So you can do that using the element locators in Selenium. So I'm just going to right click on it and go to inspect. And you can see that this particular piece of code corresponds to that element location. So the ID is present, which is one of the element locator in Selenium. So I'm just going to copy this ID and go back to my project and write the corresponding code. So it's driver.findElement by ID and specify the ID. And I'm going to send keys to that particular location. That is the search box. So I'm going to send keys. So I'm going to search for Poco F1. So I'm going to search for this particular element, that is Poco F1. And now say you want to click the search icon. Let's go back to our web page. So say you want to click this particular web element, that is the search icon or the search button. You can do that by inspecting it. You can find the class present here, guys. So I'm going to copy this class and go back to my project and write the corresponding code. So it is driver dot find element by class name, and also specify the name, that is the class name, and click the search button. I think this was clear to you guys. So let's execute this piece of code first. Okay, opens Amazon.in. Well, that was quick. So let's try adding the thread commands in between. So this thread command helps in pausing the execution for a few seconds. 4 seconds. 4 seconds. So now let's run this program. It first opens the Amazon.in page, searches for POCO F1, and clicks on the button. Alright guys, I hope you guys understood this. Let's go back to our web page. Now I'm going to manually enter this. Click on the button. You can see that the checkbox is present here, which is another web element in Selenium. So I'm going to consider the second checkbox here and click on inspect. You can see that the class is present, but let's check if this is the only class present in this code. So I'm just going to copy this and click Ctrl F so that the text box pops up. So you can see that this is not the only class present. There are 27 matches to this class. So you cannot consider this class because there is an ambiguity problem. So let's consider the link text. So copy the link text and go back to the project and write the code to locate the checkbox. Find element by link text and paste the link text here and click. As it is a checkbox, we need to click the checkbox. Save it and run the program. Okay, you can see it first. It navigates to Amazon.in, searches for POCO F1 and clicks on the search button and clicks on the checkbox. Now let's add on a few more commands here. Now say you want to perform actions on the screen, that is maximizing the web page. So you can do that using driver.manage.windows.maximize. So this command helps in maximizing the current web page. And after this, say you want to navigate to another web page. So driver.navigate to, I'm going to consider the web page edureka.co/blog. Okay, so I'm going to consider navigating it to this page and pause the execution for a few seconds. Okay, so I'm going to pause the execution for 4 seconds. Now say you want to navigate back to the current web page, that is the Amazon page. So I'm going to consider driver.navigate back. So this command helps in navigating back to the web page. And after this, I'm going to exit the driver execution. That is, we'll quit the driver execution. Okay, save this and run it. Opens Amazon.in, maximizes the web page, pauses the execution and searches for POCO F1, pauses the execution and again clicks on the search button. After this checkbox, and navigates to the Edureka blog page and pauses the execution for 4 seconds and then navigates back and closes the execution. So I think you guys understood how web elements in Selenium works. So you target an element using these web elements. And these web elements can be found using the element locators in Selenium. So I hope you guys understood what are web elements and how to target a web element in Selenium. If you want to learn more about Selenium WebDriver, don't forget to take a look at the Edureka Selenium playlist. Thank you for watching this video. Happy learning!